This episode of the Brilliance Plus Passion podcast is brought to you by the Podcast Reach System. Are you ready to exponentially reach more profitable customers? Launching and hosting your own show is your proven best solution for networking, client attraction, and establishing your celebrity expert brand. Visit www.podcastreachsystem.com and claim your rightful place as the leading star of your industry so you make a difference for your community, market, and audience. Welcome to the Brilliance Plus Passion podcast. Join us as we celebrate entrepreneurs, business creators, and brilliant minds who reveal what they are doing to make the world a better place by being part of it. Be sure to visit our website at www.brilliancepluspassion.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now sit back, lean in, tune in, get your notepad and 2 pens ready, and let's get started.
My name is Adam Homey. I'm your host, and I am honored by your wise decision to tune in and invest in yourself today. Right now, we are speaking with Elaine Lindsey, who is a speaker, speaker and social optimization expert, who is also involved with a number of different things, such as the BP. You know what? I'm going to do this over again. Normally I have more time to rehearse, but let me just do it again. I'll get it right the second time. My name is Adam Homey. I am honored by your wise decision to tune in and invest in yourself today. Right now, we are speaking with Elaine Lindsey, who is a speaker and social optimization specialist involved with Trull Social. There's a lot you can learn about her. She's an early adopter, lifetime learner, international speaker, digital strategist, creator of the Integrate and Optimize online method that melds SEO and social media to get you found first in the search results. You know, I've been making this point for years, but I've never actually spoken with anybody about this specific discipline, so I'm really excited to do it. There's so much more you can learn about Elaine. You can see her full biography on our website at www.brilliancepluspassion.com. Just go to the episode post where you can find this conversation if you're not already on it, and scroll down and read. Elaine, welcome aboard. It's great to have you here.
Why, thank you so much, Adam. I appreciate that. And I can't believe you haven't had an SEO person on before.
Oh, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying somebody who actually understands the specific discipline of how to use social media to drive search engine marketing and search engine optimization. I understand that most search engine marketing firms do this, but there's a certain element of it that I've been saying for years is important, that I'll mention to you in just a few moments, that I've never really heard anywhere before. So I want to kind of run it by you. So let's look at it that way. But before we do that, let's get into our first question. How does the work you do make the world a better place for your clients, customers, and the world at large?
That's a big one. Well,
Yes.
For starters, I deal with mostly small business, authors, comedians, entrepreneurs, chiropractors, and small companies that really are floundering in this humongous sea that is digital. And the fact is, when you understand the integration and the true simplicity of what the search engines really want, you can be right up there with the big boys, right on page one every time.
Right. So just in your own words, what is it that you do?
Okay. And I was going to get into that because it is a bit different. I do the integration of everything about you and your business. So it starts with your mindset, and then goes to your website, your digital social media pieces, your optimization pieces, where you guest post, where you do videos, where you do podcasts. All of those pieces have to work seamlessly together. It's like weaving a quilt.
Right.
Okay, one little piece of a quilt is not going to keep you warm. You
Uh-huh.
need it all to work cohesively. And one of the biggest things, Adam, that I find with small business and large business is actually that people think they want to be on page one, but inside they're not ready to be found. And quite
Sure.
frankly, you can do all the optimization in the world you want, but if the client is not ready to be found, they're not going to be.
Okay, we're going to go off script just for a minute here because our time is limited. But
Okay.
I love what you're saying about how somebody is not necessarily ready to be found. I remember when I was very new in entrepreneurship, I got introduced to somebody. If I said the person's name, your eyes would pop out in terms of how well known they were in the industry then as now. And I found myself in a series of conversations with this person about doing deals with them in the $50,000 to $60,000 range, and I hadn't figured out how to be comfortable with $3,000 yet.
Yeah.
So the conversation just kind of went on and on and on until one of us just forgot to schedule a follow up, and that was it.
Yeah.
And you know why? I just wasn't ready.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
and I understand. I've said myself many times that the phrase "screw it, let's do it" from Sir Richard Branson has purchase, but not in that type of situation.
No, no, because most people don't think about that internal voice, those pieces of them in their business that are really not quite ready for success. Failure's not the only thing people are afraid of.
Sure. Yeah, when you have success, you still have problems. It's a different set of problems, and any change can be frightening. So I love how you bring that up, that maybe somebody just isn't ready to be found. They may have a website, they may have social media, but they're not ready to be at that level yet. And so you can do all the social media and SEOing you want, but and as you said it yourself, if they're not ready to be found, they won't be found. Just like if you're not ready to do that deal just won't happen. And many times it's not the climactic, gee, I'm sorry, I have to respectfully withdraw from the project or something. It's just a matter of somebody forgets to schedule something and they always forget because they all know.
Absolutely. And
Yep.
it is a subconscious thing quite often.
Yeah.
Because they just want to get away. They just don't want to go any farther.
Exactly. So, what are a few of the frequently asked questions you get from folks who are working through their process of deciding to invest with you?
Well, first off is, what do you do? I don't understand. And so when I give them the quilt, or I give them, one of my other little adages about things coming together, people start to get it, because the first thing we have to do is kind of go into, well, how are you feeling? How will you feel when people are banging down your doors? How are you going to feel when you don't have time to book even one more client? And that can be terrifying. And getting them to that point is where we usually get the breakthrough, and they realize, okay, it's up to me. And not to be too esoteric, but working with visualization and getting into that mindset of abundance really, really helps.
Yeah. Yeah. And what are a couple of the questions you wish people would ask?
Oh, that's a really good one. Questions I wish people would ask. God, that's an excellent question, and you just totally threw me.
That's perfectly okay. I would think in your situation, it would be worth it if people would ask you about the mindset stuff and ask the question of, do you think I'm really ready for this? Just based on what you've shared with us so far.
That's a really good one. And I will tell you that I hadn't really come out until about a year and a half ago with the mindset piece. I did it. I've been doing it for over a decade, but people weren't always ready for the esoteric piece. People aren't aren't necessarily ready to hear what I can see for them in 5 years, 10 years.
Right.
That can be absolutely terrifying. And when I see that, that's the plan that I'm making for my clients.
Right.
But I've learned that I have to give them a little bite at a time and not get them to try and swallow the whole elephant.
Yeah, it's like in a workplace. I used to have a supervisor who meant well, but he would turn every single thing into a coachable moment. It's like after a while, it got to the point where I said, put it in writing and bullet points. I can't listen to these tangents and these meandering conversation. I need to see it and have it pointed to me. Otherwise, I'm just going to assume that everything I'm doing is perfect. And I also use that line when his boss, who's probably one of the most obtuse individuals I've ever run into in my life, said, "You make inconsistent errors all the time." And said, "Nobody's telling me about any errors." So until I start seeing it documented, and so I start seeing my work handed back to me with little notes on it about change this, add this, subtract this, I'm perfect. Well, after I made that stand, then I got what I wanted and I very quickly adapted. And the following feedback was, "Wow, this is absolutely perfect." I said, "Yeah, I know. I know. All I needed to know was this little 5% you kept saying I was missing. Just tell me what it is. It's not that hard." So the reason I bring that up actually is because I believe that with my supervisor in that situation, there was a bit of a mindset of, I don't know if it was guilt or a sense of never really being able to do right himself.
Yes.
That he had challenges just getting to the point of saying, so he was going to his boss and saying, "Adam makes inconsistent errors." And he was coming to me with these meandering stories like, okay, what, and when I look back at it 20 years later, I think, what was it that was stopping him from just taking the work I had done, taking a pen and writing on it?
Because quite often we're presented with the challenges we have by people that have the same challenges.
Yeah.
And it frustrates us. But very often, when we're not yet ready to learn the lesson, we can't possibly learn how to do it differently.
Exactly. And I think that, and again, it seemed like I went off on a bit of a tangent, and a lot of my analogies are circular, but it comes back to somebody who needs to be found, and then the question rises: do they need to be found? Are they ready to be found? Do they want to be found? I was approached a couple years ago by a search engine marketing firm that wanted to get into my source code and do all these kinds of analytical projects on my website. And I see the face you're making right there. And I said, "It's not a priority." And they said, "Well, don't you want to be found?" It's like, yeah, what you're proposing is not a priority.
Oh, that's a really good point, because I said I deal with small business. Their priorities are getting customers in the door.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah. But the code in my website, moving a few lines around because that's allegedly going to help my keyword density, that doesn't matter when the biggest issue is I'm not having enough conversations on my calendar.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the fact
that was the
is,
problem I had back then.
yeah. And the fact is, Google only wants one thing. They want to return the most relevant answer for each and every query on the internet.
Yeah.
Like, it's super simple. People make this so complicated. The fact is, make yourself relevant, and all the keyword density and all those additional pieces, if you are honestly an expert in your field and you're paying attention to what you're offering your clients, that's already there. So you don't have to go deep into those things. Much better for bigger companies. And I'm
just
not
a natural
saying
part
it
of your
can't.
speech.
Yeah, it can't ever help.
Yep.
But the basic thing that I see with small business quite often, they have no idea outside of this little window of expertise what their keyword phrases are.
Exactly. Like, how do you even know what they're searching for? So these are normally 15-minute interviews. We're going to go an extra 5 minutes with you so we can get in the fun questions about Elaine part that our people love. But there's one real other one I want to ask you really quick. And I'm going to say candidly, I don't care about Facebook pages or LinkedIn pages. It's like I post to them when I do. But you know what they are good for? I can make them pop up on the front page of any search engine I want. And that's why I tell people, if you don't want to spend money on the advertising, fine. Optimize the name of the page, put a new post on it every week, and allow it to help you dominate page one of whatever search engine you're sending people to. Am I right?
Yes, you are right. And there's one other thing that's critical.
Yeah.
Consistency. Be consistent in everything. Your name, your address, your phone number, your email that people can send to you. From site to site, that has to be down to the letter, has to be exact. Or the search engines are going to think you're a bunch of different people.
Exactly. I covered this on one of my other podcasts where even the differentiation of whether your corporation's legal name that's in your copyright way at the bottom has a comma in it or not can impact everything from your search engine marketing to whether or not you can get loans.
Absolutely. It affects everything. I have to agree with you there. And it's something that small business doesn't often think about, because it's so far down on the priority list. But there are things, if you don't mind me giving just a little tip for people.
One more, and then we got to have one more, and then we got to have fun with Elaine.
Okay, so here's the tip. Everything you put out, from images to video to podcast, they need to have the sprinkling of your top 5 keyword phrases, so they always track back to you. Always.
Oh, that's a good one. So and I'll let people make that determination on their own, or perhaps contact you about that. So let's have some fun. What would people who know about you, be surprised to learn about you?
Be surprised to learn.
Yeah,
well,
people you know.
I've done stand-up comedy at 2 different clubs, and I didn't start till I was 63 years old.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
What do you hope people say about you when you're not around to hear it?
I hope they find me empathetic and kind.
Okay. If you could go back in time and change one thing you've done or one thing you've experienced, what would it be and why?
I get asked this all the time, and most people think my answer would be the motor vehicle accident that took part of my leg.
Okay.
But I have to tell you, in order to be who I am today, I can't change any of it. I need to have every single one of those experiences.
You know, what's interesting is that's actually the number one answer of the dozens and dozens of interviews. If I were to count up what the answers to that question were, that would come up number one by a country mile. Yeah. What famous person, alive or dead, would you like to meet? And what questions would you have for them if you had the opportunity?
Richard Branson.
Oh, funny. We mentioned him earlier.
Yeah. I would love to ask him what the original impetus was before he opened that first record shop. Like, what was the driving force? Why a record shop? Why not a band? Why not a magazine? Like, it just seemed. I'd love to know the answer to that question.
Yeah. What motivates and inspires you to keep going when you're having a tough time or facing a challenge?
I love what I do, for starters. I love to be able to pick apart what's going on digitally and make it work for people. So that's always my thing. And I don't have quit in me. I just don't give up. I'm like, I don't know if you're old enough to know what weebles are, but I'm like a weeble. They wobble, but they don't fall down.
Yep, I know. So finally, I know you have an invitation for our listeners, and I will share that with them. But in general, right now, what is one action you urge our listeners to take as soon as they finish streaming this episode?
To go ahead and get the checklist and to pay close attention to what you can change. They're little incremental things that will absolutely help you. And don't just do it once and put it away. I want you to do it every 3 months.
All right. So what you're referring to actually is this right here. I'm going to display it on the screen. I'm going to say it one time for the folks who are out jogging. Otherwise, come to www.brilliancepluspassion.com, find this episode, look in the notes. It is eepurl.com/lowercase b, lowercase x, capital D, lowercase y, capital W, lowercase n. It's one of those little short URLs. And what it will link to is as follows. You will find a checklist, as Elaine mentioned a moment ago. It is the free mini audit checklist. And what it'll do is it'll help you assess your impact online, giving you a clear picture by identifying the gaps, inconsistencies, and missing elements in terms of your digital footprint, your website, blog, search and optimization, and social media. So it'll really help you bring a lot of those things together for yourself, going back to the conversation we've had all along here, starting with the mindset, going to the integration, and including the consistency, the messaging, and how it all ties together to link your social media to your search engine marketing strategy. And with that, Elaine, thank you so much for being with us today. It's been an honor, and believe me, an education.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on.
Thank you for tuning into the Brilliance Plus Passion podcast, where we celebrate entrepreneurs, business creators, and brilliant minds who are making a difference for their community, market, and audience. Remember to visit our website at www.brilliancepluspassion.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Brilliance Plus Passion podcast.